let's move on to our next topic here. The N word. Now, I always hear other black people using the N word when they're talking to other black people. That's how they greet each other and stuff like that. I always cringe because I'm taken back to you know, earlier in the 20th century and in the 18th and 19th centuries when the N word didn't mean anything positive. So how do you guys feel about that? We often say that it's cool for us to use it, but for other white Americans such as yourselves, you can't use it. And if we hear you use it, then we get upset. And of course, it gets calamity starts that take place. So how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, it's a completely horrible double standard. But when you look at it, all groups of people have like the words or the names for them that are not nice. Like, I don't know. It's just horrible. Why would you use degrading terms anyway? But the fact that when they're allowed to say it about them, but no one else is allowed to say it about them. I mean, I wouldn't want to say it anyway, but that's just makes it even more confusing as to why do people act like this?
And that's one thing that always got me, taking it out of terms and just looking at it as a word. It's, to me, saying that a certain group of people can't use a specific word is like saying I can't, I don't know, wear a certain type of clothes. Me saying that you can't wear, me saying that you can't say a certain word is like me saying I can't wear a shirt or wear shoes. I mean, it sounds crazy, and I'm sure that someone out there will disagree with me, but that's how I look at it. It's a word. Why would you deprive someone else of using a word if you can use it too?
I can actually almost see it as like as almost like a battle cry, so to speak, like African Americans using that word to describe themselves, because way back in like the 1800s, the early, mid 1800s, and when blacks were still enslaved, then after they were freed, well, let me rephrase that then. When they were still slaves, they were obviously called the N-word because it was degrading, and that's what people honestly thought that's what they should be called. But then, as time goes on and as they gradually get more rights, probably some of them think that to call another African American that word is more like saying, "Hey, look at where we once were. We used to be called this, and now we are above this." And so we're almost kind of like making fun of the white slave owners who used to beat us around and call us that.
It seems really backwards to me, though. Like, why would you want to go back to that? Why would you even want to even reference that time? It's such a horrible time in any culture. I mean, if you look at any culture, there's always that one time where everything was horrible. Why would anybody want to reference that when you're past it?
Making fun of those times is one thing, that's one issue. But I remember talking to an acquaintance of mine, and he says that's how he called me that. And I said, bro, I'll be cool with you. I'll be your friend, but you can't call me that. And his response was, where he comes from, that's how they say, you're my family, and stuff like that. So, have we, I don't know. It's like we've sort of accepted that, when we were a slave, going back to what you said, Dave, going back to when we were slaves, And even after we were slaves, when we were still fighting for rights, it was we accepted that. You know, we were used to white Americans calling us that, and then we started calling each other that. Malcolm X came out in the 1960s and he said that we don't have to resort to that. You know, he started the whole Afro Americans and everything like that. But we still call each other that. So are we still used to it? Have we gotten so used to it that we have that we still call each other that even in 2010?
I mean, it's a fact in any language that words change meaning over time. That's not the only word that is used now that means something completely different as it did 100 years ago. But it's just the context in which you say those things. But I don't know. Some words I still can't use, even though other people use them and they're not degrading terms. I just can't use them.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have some more things to discuss and or debate. So you all out there listening, stay tuned, and we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in. If you are just now tuning in to the Brother B.I.B show on WRDO 88.9 Ashland, we are celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day with a discussion on topics and issues surrounding the holidays. So we're going to move on to our next topic right now. What it means to quote unquote act black. And I'll be honest, I get so sick and tired of hearing people say that they're acting black, that they're talking black. I get tired of hearing white people say they are black and stuff like that. It's really annoying to me because when I hear folks say that, it puts a really heavy emphasis on who I am, and it limits me and my abilities as a person. And people expect me to act a certain way, talk a certain way, not because of my character, but because I'm black. You know, and that gets really annoying and depressing and discouraging, you know. So how do you guys, I'm going to turn to Armand here first. Armand Burgess just walked in. How do you feel about that?
Normally when someone says they're acting black, they're either acting quote unquote hood or speaking in Ebonics. This is more so acting ignorant and in a way. This is more so acting ignorant and in accordance with how television perceives African American culture than how actual African Americans act. It would be the equivalent of me acting white by playing a acoustic guitar, watching NASCAR races, and speaking in a southern drawl. That is what the equivalent of acting black is to me.
Oh, goodness. I think it's really funny that you just said watching NASCAR because that might be a very white stereotype, but I hate NASCAR. So, but honestly, I think a lot of it nowadays is a pride thing. I mean, when you look at the people, like, I don't know, it's just like they want to have so much of their own culture, but I don't know, they go about it in the wrong way. I have a lot of black friends who, if I quote unquote act black, they give me like dirty looks and say, "Girl, what are you doing?" And I just like, you know what? Why is that limited to you guys? Why do you get to say things like this? Why do you get to, I don't know, dance like that? Why not me, huh?
See, it's disturbing to me because I'm my own person. You know, again, me being black, you know, when I think of me being black, you know, I think back to, you know, my heritage, where I come from, the history behind what black people, what black Americans went through before. That's how I think of black. When I hear what people are saying now about how to quote unquote act black, it's really ridiculous to me. And it's also discouraging because I don't act that way. So, what does that say to a little boy who is brought up a different way? What is his perspective of his own culture? It's really, to me, it's really degrading and insulting. And it's just something that I wish we would stop doing.
I agree. I have a cousin who's black. She's adopted. Both her parents are white, and so is her brother. And I don't know. I see her as her. She's not my black cousin or anything like that. She's Margaret. She's a great girl. I mean, she goes to a Catholic school. I mean, granted, right now she's becoming a teenager, so her mom is having a little bit of trouble with the culture difference because she's trying to figure out who she is as a black woman, where her mom still thinks of her as her little girl. And it's just that war going on a little bit. And so I know that Margaret gets a little frustrated with it, but she's her own person. She doesn't act black. She doesn't act white. She doesn't act like a black girl who was raised in a white home. She's Margaret. She's herself.
Dave, I want to ask you a question. As a white person, are there any or has there ever been any I don't know, expectations or what's the word I'm looking for?
Dave, as a Caucasian American, has there been any pressure on you to act in a certain way in accordance to the color of your skin? Have you been expected to be rich because you're white? Something like that.
Thank you, Armand.
Well, to that certain level, I mean, personally, I've never really felt like I've had that kind of pressure be put on me, but at the same time, it probably has been, but I just didn't realize it at all. But I mean, again, I was always brought up to to speak clearly and do the best you can in everything that you can, and also try to dress nice and look nice for any kind of occasion, whether it be school or just going out with your friends, and especially for black tie events. Mm-hmm. But I just because of that's how I was brought up, I never really felt like any other pressures from anybody else to have to dress a certain way, or, well, I take that back. Due to society's choices, I have to dress a certain way, but to be accepted. But I mean, again, the kind of pressures to act a certain way and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was really just about what I wanted to do and what I thought was acceptable, while I was growing up. So for me, yeah, I mean, can't really go anywhere with that.
Let me ask you a personal question, Emily and Dave. Have you ever had any thoughts about when you look at another Black American? Have you ever had any thoughts about or preferences of what they must do, what they must be like as a person, simply because they're black?